When I was still a child and had not yet attained the age of maturity, my father made arrangements in Churan for the marriage of one of my older brothers. And as is customary in that city, the festivities lasted for 7 days and 7 nights. On the last day, it was announced that the play Shah Sultan Salim would be presented. A large number of princes, dignitaries and notables of the capital gathered for the occasion. And I was sitting in one of the upper rooms of the building and observing the scene. Presently a tent was pitched in the courtyard, and before long some small human-like figures, each appearing to be no more than about a handspan in height, were seen to emerge from it and raise the call, "His Majesty is coming." Arrange the seats at once. All the figures then came forth, some of whom were seen to be engaged in sweeping, others in sprinkling water, and thereafter another, who was announced as the chief town crier, raised his call and bade the people assemble for an audience with the king. Next, several groups of figures made their appearance and took their places. The first attired in hats and sashes, after the Persian fashion, the second wielding battle axes, and the third comprising a number of footmen and executioners carrying bastinades. Finally there appeared, arrayed in regal majesty and crowned with a royal diadem, a kingly figure bearing himself with the utmost haughtiness and grandeur, at turns advancing and pausing in his progress, who proceeded with great solemnity, poise and dignity to seat himself upon his throne.
At that moment a volley of shots was fired, a fanfare of trumpets was sounded, and king and tent were enveloped in a pall of smoke. When it had cleared, the king, ensconced upon his throne, was seen surrounded by a suite of ministers, princes, and dignitaries of state, who, having taken their places, were standing at attention in his presence. A captured thief was then brought before the king, who gave the order that the offender should be beheaded. Without a moment's delay, the chief executioner cut off the thief's head. Whence a blood like liquid came forth. After this the king held audience with his court, during which intelligence was received that a rebellion had broken out on certain frontier. Thereupon the king reviewed his troops and dispatched several regiments, supported by artillery, to quell the uprising. A few moments later, cannons were heard booming from behind the tent, and it was announced that a battle had been engaged. This youth regarded the scene with great amazement. When the royal audience was ended, the curtain was drawn, and after some 20 minutes, a man emerged from behind the tent carrying a box under his arm. "What is this box?" I asked him, "and what was the nature of this display?" lavish display and these elaborate devices? He replied, the king, the princes, and the ministers, their pomp and glory, their might and power, everything you saw are now contained within this box. I swear by my Lord, who through a single word of his mouth hath brought into being all created things. Ever since that day, all the trappings of the world have seemed in the eyes of this youth that came to that same spectacle. They have never been, nor will they ever be, of any weight and consequence, be it to the extent of a grain of mustard seed. How greatly I marveled that men should pride themselves upon such vanities, whilst those possessed of insight, ere they witness any evidence of human glory, perceive with certainty the inevitability of its waning. Never have I looked upon anything save that I have seen extinction before it, and God verily is a sufficient witness.